It's very rare to see a team like the Memphis Grizzlies that finished so well record-wise last season at 56-26, their second best record in the NBA, while missing a large amount of time without their MVP level guard in John Morant, and still going into the next season, people virtually have them dropping off from that second spot to Bobby being one of the lower seeds in the playoffs. And I think that more constitutes to the level of talent that now erupted in the Western Conference with the injury recoveries on the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets. And you have champions like the Golden State Warriors there. You still have teams like the Phoenix Suns. While they still look dysfunctional as hell, you can't really overlook them. And you have other teams later on the Western Conference that are pretty good. But right now, the Memphis Grizzlies are showing that as a unit, they're one of the best teams in the NBA. Yet they're still seen as the upstarts of Western Conference, teams that you think, normally have that one big overachieving year and then slowly drop off. Kind of like the Atlanta Hawks in 2021 when they made it all the way to the conference finals and almost made it to the finals a little bit before Giannis decided to put a whole stop to that. But I think people like to forget that even with missing John Morant for about 23 games last season, the Memphis Grizzlies are still the fourth best offense in the league and the sixth best defense in the league. Only on one of four teams to actually rank in top 10 in both, while leading the league in rebounds, offensive boards, steals, blocks, points in the paint, second chance points, fast break points, etc., etc. The team is demons when it comes to attacking the boards and scoring in the paint, which is obvious to understand when you have someone like John Morant here. But with that being said, they have a boatload of shooting around everybody, with guys like Desmond Bain on here that set the league on fire last season of shooting 43.5% from three on relatively high volume. You have guys like Dillon Brooks, who only was, in the lineup for about 32 games last season and had a very underwhelming and inefficient playoff run. But again, when a guy's been that injury riddled and he hasn't been able to rhythm all season, I can't really blame him too much for struggling. And I know the new running joke is that he is either a dirty player or he's a shot chucker. And he's cut from the same cloth as the guys like Jordan Clarkson, Gary Trent Jr., and J.R. Smith, in a sense that it doesn't matter if he misses the first 10 shots in the game. He's taking 10 more the same way he did before. Misses don't really bother him. And for somebody that, when he was healthy, was giving you a solid and efficient 16 points per game, I can't really be too mad at that. So yes, Dillon Brooks is definitely a big part of the team, but I do think they need a better three going forward for this team to meet its full potential. But right now, I think he does fit the bill on this team. Jaren Jackson Jr. may be out, but his time will return is fit between November and January because he was given 46 months to recover from that foot surgery. And right now they say he's ahead of schedule and could return earlier than expected. So if he comes back in November, he may only miss about 10 games in the season. And being an all defensive first team player, league leading shot blocker, and to be honest, one of the rare bigs that can give you some really nice shooting touch from three, even though he's kind of dropped off from his percentage in the past couple of years. He's still one of the best bigs in the game, and he'll be missed on this team for the amount of time he's out. But when he does come back and goes back into his role and finally, I guess feel comfortable with his foot, this team can be back to the full potential that they were before. And then you have their bench that is stacked to all hell. You have Brandon Clark that shows some very valuable playoff time, averaging 12.3 points, 6.9 rebounds on 60% shooting in the playoffs. Tyus Jones, who, to be honest, in my opinion, is probably the best backup guard in the game, who led Memphis to a 19-4 record with John Morant out. Zaire Williams, who showed some nice touch from three, and overall just a player that can definitely develop into something good on this team. And then you have the man up front, John Morant, who is not only an MVP candidate, but with him developing as a scorer and as a player, maybe refining his mid-range shot and his three-point jumper, giving him even more weapons so he doesn't have to attack the paint all the damn time and can, take back a little bit on the injuries. This team has a whole lot more potential, and I think people just decide to forget about them, and I don't think that's a good thing to do. Because just like this year, last season, they were an afterthought. And while they didn't prove anything before last year, and there's still a little bit more expectations on them this season, people still see them as an afterthought, even though they were the second seed last year. And it's not a good idea in my eyes at all. To be honest, the Minnesota Timberwolves should have won that series, yes, but the fact that the Memphis Grizzlies were able to stick through and come back in those games and take advantage of what Minnesota Timberwolves lacked to still win that series shows the discipline that this team does have. And they pushed the Golden State Warriors to as much as they could handle while missing John Morant. So again, I don't see where people keep just forgetting that this team is as good as they are. Now, with all that praise, there is some holes on this roster. Jaren Jackson Jr. missing him for any amount of time is definitely going to be detrimental. I think that loss means a little bit more in the grand scheme of things instead of missing Ja Morant. And hear me out in a sense in that Jaren Jackson Jr.'s play, this team is so talented overall offensively that missing Ja, they can go a steady 19-4 with him missing. But Jaren Jackson Jr.'s defensive prowess on this team and overall role can't be filled by anyone else on this team, as well as Jaren Jackson Jr. can do it even with his fouling problem. So I think that's going to be a little bit more mixed. But overall, again, he does also still have his fouling problem, and he does have tunnel vision on offense where if he gets the ball, a shot's going up. You're not getting the ball back from him. So yes, there you have holes there. You have the defensive hole in the front in Ja Morant, who, even as athletic as he is, still is skinny framed and sometimes just has a lot of defensive lapses. But again, you can take that with a guard that's giving you near 30 points per game and 7 assists. So I don't really think I can complain too much. And with his offensive skill set growing, again, this team can still be one of the best in the league. So with all that being said, I still have this Memphis Grizzlies team as one of the better teams in the Western Conference and can definitely be a top 4 seed again. And with the improvements of the players all around and having a coach like Taylor Jenkins that showed that he can galvanize his team into getting the very best out of every single player on this roster, I don't know why people seem to just continuously look over them year after year. Not to mention that this is Desmond Bane's 3rd season in the NBA. After the development he took last year, I can fully expect him to probably take another all-star level jump going into this season, which is crazy to think. And having a all-star next to Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. that can also be an all-star, is this team is loaded for years to come. I don't think we can look at them as the Atlanta Hawks, because the Atlanta Hawks, they had Trae Young. I guess John Collins was okay, but they had Trae Young and that's it. And then the next year, this team just fell off when everybody else got healthy. This season, the Memphis Grizzlies are a completely different animal in my eyes, and I do think they can definitely still be one of the best teams in the NBA. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think this team can still go back to being a top 4 team in the Western Conference, or do you think they're just going to fall off a cliff? But with that being said, this is a hobby. That's my time, and I'm out.